happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out the Transformers Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Core Class Terracon Frieza, a character which we know surprisingly very little about. I mean, unfortunately, we haven't seen him in any of the latest trailers. There's no promotional art of him until now. So here we have the Core Class packaging, and we get a sick looking CG render of Frieza. And I mean, come on, this has got to be a descendant of Frenzy that we saw in the 2007 movie. It's too similar not to be. It literally looks identical to him, and I guess the Bayformers are back because it also looks very similar to some of the kitchen Decepticons that we saw in the Revenge of the Fallen movie. So yeah, I really like the design. We also get this kind of museum backdrop, so I imagine Terracon Frieza is going to be an infiltrator. You know, maybe he's after some kind of artifact. I'm merely speculating, but we get the Terracon logo there, another really cool CGI render of the character, and as we come around to the back of the box, this guy is essentially a quadruple changer. So we get the robot mode and then two distinctive gun modes, and then there's also a fourth one which is intended to combine with Leader Class Scourge, which I'll showcase later on in the video. And here we get another close-up image of Frieza with a pretty deadly nasty gash going across the forehead. So yeah, this guy looks so cool. But here we have the character as he comes packaged in his robot mode. And I mean, come on, it's Frenzy. It has got to be Frenzy. When I saw some of the official images for this guy, I thought, oh my goodness, they're actually going to be giving us a core class Frenzy. But no, it is Frieza, and you know what? I wouldn't mind betting that in a few years' time, they retool this figure into a core Frenzy, because all they'd have to do really is remove these lower arms and then connect these forearms onto maybe a double ball peg on this one, because I think Frenzy had one arm but two hands attached to either side, so it was quite a strange design. But in terms of a core class, this has got to be the nicest painted one we've seen so far. And you know, like I said, the Bayformers are definitely back because this guy has the chicken legs, much like we saw from Starscream and pretty much all of the Decepticons in those first three movies. But as we take a look at the head sculpt, look at that, so mean looking. I love the kind of copper dry brushing that we have across the helmet. We get these quadruple eyes, which are actually pretty formidable looking, and these really nasty looking silver metallic teeth. Now I think it's been confirmed that this guy won't transform in the movie, so all of the alt modes that we'll be seeing in today's video are merely just conceptualized ideas by the design team. So I think the robot mode should be pretty accurate to what he looks like in the movie. But as we come around here to the back, really nice detail. Again, we kind of get that orange internal glow, which the vast majority of the Terracons I think are going to have in the latest movie. But look at these arms, General Grievous, eat your heart out. I mean, look at them, they are so cool. Really nice copper detailing across all of them, even the lower ones. So they're pretty sweet looking. They are distinctive sculpts. I mean, despite them looking very similar, they are completely different to one another. And there we've got the torso, which looks really cool looking. Again, super nice mechanical detail with that nice copper wash, and I love the leg design. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Michael Bay movies, so to see a Decepticon, or should I say a Terracon design, which reminds me of some of those older ones, it's just so freaking cool. And yeah, really nicely done. I think the feet too have been painted and sculpted pretty nicely, but it's all about the articulation. This guy is loaded with ball joints. So we get a really nice one here for the head. It allows him to look up and down. He can also kind of tilt left to right, and you can rotate the head side to side. So that's pretty sweet. We get ball joints for all of the arms at the shoulders, so these can move back and forth. We also get some ball joints here out of the elbows, so these can also rotate left to right. The same can be said here for the lower one, so they didn't skimp out on any of them. It maybe would have been cool to have seen a little ball joint for the wrist, but perhaps that's asking for too much. We do get some nice ball joints here out of the hips, although I will say these are definitely a lot looser than I was hoping for. So, you know, maybe if you do come into that issue, apply a bit of floor polish and hopefully you'll be good to go. We don't get any form of knee joint, although we do get a ball joint here at where I would imagine the ankle would be. Honestly, I'm not too sure how these are actually going to work in the movie, but yeah, this is on a ball joint. And then we also get a ball joint for the actual foot itself, which can go forwards and backwards and also rock side to side. So overall, definitely a pretty nutty looking design. And for those wondering, all of the hands are kind of MechTech port compatible, so if you have any of the larger scale accessories, you can definitely pack them in there and have Frieza running around blasting at some Autobots, or maybe even some Maximals. Now, as we take a look at some comparisons, here we have Core Class Frieza alongside the Rise of the Beasts RC, and you can see despite them being roughly exactly the same in terms of height, I will say that Frieza just feels much bigger. So in terms of value for your money, you do get a lot more with this guy because there's a lot more going on, there's a lot more joints, and in terms of overall mass, he is much bigger than RC. So unfortunately, yes, she's probably the weakest out of the wave, but considering RC is more or less human-sized in the movie, I guess the same can also be said here for Frieza, so maybe this is more of a Terracon threat to the humans rather than the Autobots or the Maximals. Again, we'll just have to wait and see. You know, this could even be one of the foot soldiers that we see in the final battle in the latest teaser trailer. I guess only time's gonna tell. Here he is alongside the Bumblebee movie core class Shockwave, so you can see in terms of just average core scale, yeah, he's pretty decently sized. But comparing him alongside some of the more average scale figures, here we have the 2007 movie Barricade. Now I brought this guy out here just to showcase that if you wanted to use this as your Studio Series Frenzy, technically you could. I mean, I think Frenzy was a much smaller character in the movie. He was literally able to fit inside the chest of Barricade, but honestly, if they were to retool this, I wouldn't mind him being out of scale, because if they were to keep him in scale, he'd probably be way too small for them to ever make a proper articulated figure. So for now, honestly, I don't mind the way these two look next to each other at all. And for some other Rise of the Beast Studio Series comparisons, we have him alongside the Deluxe class Bumblebee, Maximal Airazor, Voyager class Cheetor, Terracom Battletrap, and last but by no means least, the Leader class Scourge. And I guess in some ways these guys go hand in hand with each other, because Frieza does actually specifically lock into Scourge's truck mode. So yeah, definitely be sure to stay tuned for the later part of the video for that. Now, turning to transformation, honestly guys, I think this is probably the weakest part about the figure, and truth be told, it's pretty frustrating. But to kickstart things off with, you're going to want to take the head, and then the neck joint will actually click upwards, just like that. We can then come around here to the back, take this section, bring it forwards, and then take this additional kind of gunmetal piece and pull it backwards. It can be quite difficult just to get grips of things, because there's just ball joints all over this guy. But once you've done that, we can then take the blaster, flip this section here out, and then bring this up and over the top of the head, and then just snap this in there. Now this is definitely the most frustrating part about the transformation, because things are just an absolute mess. So you're going to want to take the top arms and then take the forearms and rotate these around so that the front is now facing the back. Do the exact same here for this side. So the first mode is kind of that quad pod cannon, which was showcased on the box, and then what's going to happen here is these slots, which are basically on the underside of the ball joint, are going to peg into these tabs. Now this can be pretty tricky, and to be fair, they don't really lock in all that secure, but you're just going to want to get them into something which looks along the lines of this. Do the exact same here for this side, so just bring this section around, snap that there into place, and this one pretty much doesn't lock in at all. It merely does just rest into place, and it can be such a pain to make these symmetrical as well, because the ball joints just do not like to line up whatsoever, so I'm being very delicate. And then finally, as we come here to the back of the legs, because these are kind of MechTech port compatible, I imagine you'd take one of the smaller deluxe figures to actually have him holding this as kind of a mounted cannon. But there is Frieza in his quad pod turret mode, and I mean, yeah, it leaves a lot to be desired. I'm gonna be honest, you know, this doesn't look great at all. It's very fiddly, very frustrating, but like I said previously, I think it's been pretty much confirmed by the design team that Frieza won't actually transform in the movie. So again, it's a conceptualized idea. My biggest issue with this is that the turret always looks like it's bent or wonky. You can never quite straighten out the tip of it, so it always looks like it's drooping down. But I'll just take a very quick look here at the details. I mean, it's nicely painted, you know, considering how much paint they packed into the robot mode. I was expecting this to maybe just be gunmetal grey, but no, looks pretty cool from a bird's eye perspective. But the rest of the figure, yeah, certainly isn't the best. And in terms of a quick comparison, here he is alongside the only other tank slash cannon that I have in the core class, that being the Bumblebee movie Shockwave. So again, much like in robot mode, you can see here for alt mode, it's a pretty decent core scale, but oh my god, those arms just do not want to stay locked in at all. So next up, we're going to jump into the third mode, which luckily tabs in a lot better than this one. So you're going to want to take this piece of the leg, and the shin will actually click into that section. We can then take the foot, and basically this tiny gap will just groove over the top of what was originally, I think, the knee joint, and then do the same here for this side. So just groove that section over. Now what you're going to want to do is take these arms, so the lower arms, and rotate here at the ball joint this time. And then this big massive tab is going to slide into a slot on the outside of what was originally the thigh. Now this too, much like the other configuration, could be quite tricky to kind of line everything up, but you're just going to want to shoot that in there, and then come here to this side and do the exact same. So rotate this section around, and then just take this here and snap it into place. We can then bring these up so that they look something along the lines of this. I mean, to be honest, it would have been so cool had these legs actually clicked together so they weren't permanently kind of floating all around the place. But anyway, the next step you're going to want to do is then take these forearms, rotate these two around, and there is a big tab there that's going to slide into this tiny little slot. So just snap this in. You don't want to apply too much pressure to the wrong area, because you're dealing with ball joints. It will probably self-combust, but just delicately do it and things should be okay. So just snap that in there, and then for some finishing touches, come here to the underside and flip out the port, and bang, there is Frieza transformed up into his cannon mode. So I guess he's kind of our first live action movie Target Master, and this is definitely a much better alt mode in my opinion than whatever that kind of quad pod cannon was. But as you guys can see, I mean, again, it basically looks the same. It's just that the arms are all kind of curled up here towards the top. Doesn't look too bad, but you know, not the best. In terms of compatibility, this is where you're going to want to bring in Scourge, or you know, kind of for this mode, any other figure which can hold a blaster. But basically what's going to happen is you're just going to take him and slide him into any of those MechTech ports, and there is Scourge and Frieza combined in the robot mode. Now, like I said, you know, you could use this guy with any of the other characters. I actually think he looks pretty sweet being wielded by Battle Trap, but because he is a core class and he's quite large in this mode, it basically restricts you from getting any form of bend out of whatever character's holding him's elbow. So that's a shame. He basically has to hold him like one big massive cannon. So, you know, it is something you can do, but I just think practically doesn't really work out the best. I wish maybe the mass of the legs could have ended up more towards the front so that you could have really utilized that elbow bend. But now we're actually going to get into the proper combination where you can attach this guy onto the back of Scourge's truck mode. So for this, you're going to want to take this port and just compress it inwards, and it's literally just these front arms that you're going to want to mess with. So just attach those, bring these forwards, and then rotate here at the elbow. Do the same here on the opposite side, so just pull these sections down and rotate at the elbow, and he's pretty good to go. So here we have Scourge in the truck mode. As we come around here to the back, Frieza will actually attach into what was originally Scourge's cannon. So what's going to happen is you're basically just going to want to plonk him here on top, and then this tab is going to peg into this slot. So just snap that section into place, come around here to this side, and do the exact same. So just snap that one in, and that is basically Scourge and Frieza fully combined. I mean, you know, was it something they really had to advertise in the instructions? I'm not too sure, because it doesn't look the best. You know, I was thinking maybe it was going to do a little more. I was thinking that perhaps the legs were going to peg into something in the back, but no. I mean, is this something we're going to see in the movie? Considering that it's confirmed Frieza's not going to transform, it's unlikely, but it does throw me back again to some of those old Revenge of the Fallen, Hunt for the Decepticons days, where they'd create some pretty cool kind of conceptualized combination modes. So yeah, I mean, it's something you can do. He does hold on there pretty securely, so, you know, if you've got Scourge rolling out into battle with the rest of the Terracons, you can have Frieza hop on there and blasting down some of the Autobots, which, you know what, if it were to appear in the movie, I guess would create for a pretty cool action sequence. And wrapping up on this review for the Rise of the Beast Studio Series Frieza, personally, I really like this guy. You know, in terms of the robot mode, I think he looks fantastic. Now, that is coming from someone who loves the Michael Bay movie, so I know the whole quadruple arms and the chicken legs is not going to appeal to everyone, but I think you can definitely appreciate how much has gone into this guy. I mean, he's undeniably the best painted and probably the most articulated core class figure we've seen to date. There are loads of ball joints here, which I wasn't expecting for a $12 figure, and yeah, while some of them are a little loose, that's just the nature of ball joints. You know, you can pack on a bit of floor polish or some clear nail varnish and you're pretty good to go. So yeah, I think robot mode near enough for the size gets a 10 out of 10, but the alternate modes are just trash. I mean, most of them don't even hold together well, especially that kind of quad pod cannon that we have. Don't like that at all. I think the Target Master Blaster is a little better, but then I think he's too big for any character to kind of hold him naturally, so that's a little bit of a shame. And then we get into the combination with Scourge, which again, I don't think looks the greatest, but I guess it's cool that they kind of engineered some cross compatibility between the two characters, and it would be cool if we could see that in the movie. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the film, looking forward to actually getting a good glimpse of this guy, hopefully in the next teaser trailer, but I'd love to get your thoughts down in the comment section below. And that pretty much concludes the Transformers Rise of the Beast Studio Series Wave 1 for this year. All of them been really nicely done, makes me super excited for Wave 2 and Wave 3. Let me know your thoughts down below, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.